To the Coach Brent Thompson Show here from the Marina Variety Store Restaurant in downtown Charleston on ESPN Radio 94.7 and 910 AM. Luke Morrow alongside the coach, back on schedule here tonight with the Coaches Show leading into this Saturday's game against ETSU as the Bulldogs return home for the first time in over a month. We'll talk about the bye week, what it was like to have a week off for the Bulldogs, and even recap, think back about 2 weeks ago to Chattanooga, and rather I should say to Towson, and recap that game as well for the Bulldogs here in the next hour. Coach, how are you tonight?
Well, I'm doing well. Happy to be back at it, happy to be back going. It's good to have a game. There's no doubt. It keeps you a little bit more motivated than getting through a bye week.
Absolutely, and I apologize for not having a show last week, but I don't think anybody would want me here in the state that I was in, and I certainly decided to eat somewhere differently today, so we are good to go tonight to talk Citadel football. And let's jump right in first and foremost with what the past week has been like now with the bye week or the off week, heading into now this current week where you prepare for ETSU. Of course, with the hurricane a couple of weeks ago, it's changed the whole schedule around, so really about 2 bye weeks, if you will, in the past month. But what was the off week like for the team, and how did you treat that full week schedule-wise for the guys?
Well, when we returned from Towson, we got home at about 6 o'clock in the morning on Sunday morning, so needless to say, I gave them Sunday off. Sunday's usually a work day for us, so we had Sunday off. Monday's our usual day off, so I gave them off Sunday and Monday. We got back to work Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We had 2 really good practices on Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday, we just kind of did some special teams. We did some certain scenarios. I cut some of the staff loose to go do some recruiting throughout the week. And so we kind of limited practice throughout. It was really mainly focused on getting our young guys better. We spent the early part of the week working a lot of fundamentals, a lot of individual time, a lot of special teams time. By the end of the week, somewhere closer to Wednesday and Thursday, we started to implement our game plan for East Tennessee State. I didn't want to get too far ahead of the game plan because it evolves and changes so much that you don't want to have too much in at one time. So we limited ourselves in that and just kind of got good at some very fundamental things that we were going to need throughout the year, some fundamental schemes that we were going to need. And then Friday we all took off and we went out recruiting, and I gave the players off Friday and Saturday, and we came back Sunday. And Sunday we treated more like a Tuesday practice. We got after it a little bit more. We had a little bit more interaction. We fully implemented our game plan on Sunday, tried to get a couple days ahead. We knew that this week could be a little bit hectic due to the weather that was coming in, so we wanted to get some good practice days in on Sunday and Tuesday, and then Wednesday ended up being a good day for us to be able to practice as well. So we certainly wanted to be ahead, and we certainly were looking throughout the forecast to see what we could get accomplished.
Of course, it's not normal for a football team to have that time off, so how do the guys respond even just from a couple of days off when they would get back out there on the practice field?
Well, amazingly, Sunday was a good practice. We went about 18 periods out there. Like I said, we had a little bit more interaction than we would traditionally do on a Sunday, but I thought it was good to just get our legs back underneath us. We weren't up against any sort of deadline like we were coming off of the week off before Mercer. That one we kind of did a little bit more interaction there. This one we kind of got our legs back underneath us, had just 2 days off. I got a little bit of running, a little bit of exercise in, and then we came back in on a Tuesday, and I thought we had a terrific practice yesterday. It was one of those days where it was cool out. We were able to get a lot of work done. It's amazing what you can do when the weather finally breaks. You can get a little bit more practice out of them.
You mentioned working on some fundamentals and helping maybe some of those younger guys grow up a little bit quicker. Was that the #1 goal of that bye week? What else were you trying to work on?
Absolutely. We're trying to get some of our freshmen in there. We've got a freshman quarterback that I think is going to be a really good player for us, but he's got a long way to go as far as his fundamentals are going. But there's no other time to do it during the season until you get to the spring season. So getting him some really good quality reps against really some of our good quality defensive players as well is going to go a long way into the spring for those guys. We've got some younger guys on the defensive side. We've got 2 young defensive linemen that are playing a lot of snaps for us. For freshmen, they still needed to work. They still needed to get better. They needed to get fundamentally better. So that helped those guys out. We certainly have some younger guys in the back end as well that we needed to test. So we worked on our pass game a little bit more. So it was something that we want to work on in the bye week, see what we can develop and what plays that we'll be able to continue to carry on.
We kind of talked about it after that week off due to the hurricane, but college football coaches are always so busy. You didn't have a game this past Saturday, so how did you spend your time instead?
Wandering around my house, trying to find something to do. And I realized that after a while I can watch about 2 or 3 games. Once you get to about the 3rd and 4th game, I'm a terrible fan after a while as I lose interest in the game and I start wandering around, start thinking about my own team and what we really need to do. And went into the office, kind of looked at some film right there. But once again, I didn't want to watch too much film. I watched watched the ETSU game. I watched portions of the other conference games that I could watch on ESPN. So there's, you just get a little bit antsy.
Dan Mullen just said the other day that, if he had time and you gave him a plays. You had some extra time. Did you scheme any new plays for the offense, any trick plays, anything like that?
I did. I don't know if it's game ready, but we do have a couple of them ready. More than we traditionally would carry, which would be about 1 or 2 per game. But yeah, there is an opportunity for you to kind of work on some things that you really traditionally wouldn't have time to run. But carrying it forward, after a while, it becomes one of those things where you'll just rep 2 or 3 trick plays a week until they're out game ready.
Now, leading into a big game Saturday and the return home against ETSU, who's 5-1, 3-0 in the conference. As you mentioned, you took advantage of some of the time during that bye week putting in the game plan. How big of a help is that for a game like this to have some extra time to prepare and get ready?
Well, 2 things that helped us for was, one is this certainly it's a conference opponent. It's a very big game for us. It's a home game for us. But more importantly, we had to get healthy. We came out of the Towson game a little bit nicked up. We had about 4 or 5 guys that couldn't have played last week even if we wanted them to. So we had to take some time and get those guys healthy, which I think we're going to get most of them back. There's a couple that may not be able to play, but I still think that we're in pretty good shape right now.
Did you do any sort of self-scouting on your own team during the time off?
We always do a little bit every single week. I always ask for what is our tendencies right now, where are we. We do a quality control every week. Time during the bye week to look at those things. I break down the offense usually and just give a good idea of where we are and what plays are working for you, what plays need more work, so that way you carry them forward into the bye week and try to work on those plays. And then maybe you do investigate some new formations, which we'll have some new formations working throughout the rest of the season.
This, of course, isn't the original schedule that we had in place due to the postponement of that Charleston Southern game with the Hurricane. But after starting the season, 3 straight conference games and then the matchup with a good Towson team on the road. I mean, you've played a couple of the best teams in the conference already. Did you find that this bye week came at a good time for the team here now moving forward?
Yeah, we would have liked to have had at least another win there, be 2-2 rolling into this bye week. But yeah, we really needed the bye week at this time. It's a little bit early on in the year. We've only played 4 football games. And certainly the 5th game would have helped us out a little bit. Another non-conference game probably would have helped us out a little bit. But we certainly should have been 2-2. We had our opportunities to be 2-2. But it didn't work out that way. So right now we've got to focus, and when I brought the team back in on Sundays, we need to focus on being 1-0 and starting our season over. Regroup, rally the guys up, take the last week, take the whole last 3 or 4 weeks out of it, and let's move forward from here.
It's the Coach's Show with the head coach Brent Thompson here from the Marina Variety Store Restaurant. For those listening at home or watching online, you can participate. Ask your questions online using the hashtag AskCoachThompson on Twitter. We already have a couple that we'll get to later on in the show, but continue to send those in using the hashtag. And of course, we send our best to anybody down in Florida dealing with the storm that will make its way up the coast, and we'll deal with it a little bit here with some rain and wind over the next 24 hours here in South Carolina, but should certainly clear up in time for the game on Saturday. Coach, when you heard about this latest hurricane after the last couple of years and all that the Bulldogs have been through, when you first heard about it, did it cross your mind like, oh no, here we go again, another one we have to worry about?
It did, and I try to keep it as far away from my mind as possible, but I did keep an eye on it, and when it got closer and closer, and I started hearing more that it could get a little bit closer to us. I certainly did track it, not only for worrying about the cancellation and everything that we've gone through with hurricanes around here, but really the main thing was how we're going to practice. Because your main goal is no matter what, you're going to try to play this football game. And if you do play this football game, you got to have a prepared team. So even looking as far out as last week when we started to hear about it, we needed to start to get ahead and then start worrying about what practice was going to look like for this week. And that's what I said is we may have gone a little bit longer on Sunday, a little bit longer on Tuesday. Today we kind of realized that we were going to get the practice in today, so we scaled it back a little bit today, and we'll scale it back a little bit tomorrow. But I think we're at a good spot right now where we don't have to get too much in tomorrow.
Yeah, I know a lot of rain's supposed to be coming in the area here overnight into tomorrow, so what is the plan to deal with it tomorrow?
Well, they canceled school tomorrow for us, which it's going to affect us a little bit. We're going to try to operate on a normal schedule. We're going to have our traditional times for our meetings. I don't want to get our players too far off schedule. This is what they know. This is what's best for them. This is what's worked for them in the past. And moving forward, I think that's going to be the best opportunity for us to get a good solid meeting in before practice. We'll have a lift that we traditionally have a lift on Thursdays for our part of our squad, and then we'll get a good 15, 16 period practicing.
It's the Coach's Show here from the Marina Variety Store. We'll take our first break. When we come back, even though it's not the midway point of the season, it is coming off the bye week, so we will break down the team and assess all three sides of the football for the Bulldogs so far this year, and also talk about not only the game coming up this Saturday with ETSU, but also the most latest game for the Bulldogs, which came 2 weeks ago against Thompson. All that and more when we come back. It's the Coach's Show here from the Marina Variety Restaurant in downtown Charleston on ESPN Radio, 94.7 FM and 910 AM.
Pizza with Pepsi. Delicious.
Style. Selection. Service. Quality. Value. See what everyone is talking about. Ashley Furniture Home Store.
TD Bank's new intern, Bart, is one of those robots from another bank. We're training him to bank human. Bart, why are you winding the clock back?
The clock stated 11:35 p.m., but they are still working.
The clock is fine. Our live customer service is available all night, and all day for that matter. He's learning.
At TD Bank, we do things differently.
Hello?
Like live customer service.
Hello?
24/7. Don't just bank. Bank human.
We build our communities. We earn our success. We, as South Carolinians, work best together. Don't follow your bank into the impersonal world of mergers. Make a change. Visit South Atlantic Bank to talk with local bankers who care about the Low Country. Our local headquarters will be ready next year on Johnny Dodds Boulevard. Until then, stop by our current location. You'll find a community bank with a proven track record of financial success. South Atlantic Bank. People you know and trust.
This is the Pepsi for serious fans and serious eats. This is the Pepsi for Sundays at the ballpark and days off at your favorite pizza joint. Right, Aaron?
Best slice in New York.
Whatever you're craving, this is the Pepsi for you.
I reckon I've been hanging around a while. Now I don't move like I used to, but I still get the job done. So what if I fall down now and then? I get right back up again sooner or later.
What is your garage door saying? A brand new garage door from Overhead Door could be the...
A table and a cafe seat. I got it, I don't miss a beat. Walking down the avenue, be it gray or be it blue, Live 5 News everywhere I go. Yo, everywhere, got you everywhere, everywhere I go. Whoa, 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 everywhere I
go. Pizza with Pepsi. Delicious.
Mark Lee became the first Navy SEAL killed in Iraq, sacrificing his life for our freedoms and his SEAL teammates. America's Mighty Warriors was born out of Mark's challenge to pass on the kindness, the love, the precious gift of human life. We honor our troops and Gold Star families by providing programs that assist recovery after injury or loss. Partner with us by making a generous donation. Text MARK to 234-231-9284. America's Mighty Warriors, supporting our troops and the families of the fallen.
This is the Pepsi for serious fans and serious eats. This is the Pepsi for Sundays at the ballpark and days off at your favorite pizza joint. Right, Aaron?
Best slice in New York.
Whatever you're craving, this is the Pepsi for you.
Downtown Charleston, located at 17 Rockwood Drive. You can join us here in person every Wednesday night, or come anytime, even when we're not here. Great food and great views at the seafood restaurant here in downtown Charleston, right down the street from the school. You can participate tonight by using the hashtag AskCoachThompson on Twitter to send in your questions for the head coach, and a couple have come in. One that we already kind of touched on, but we'll double down on it with the question that was asked. But one of the fans asking what you would like to see differently from your pass rush defensively to try to get more pressure on the quarterbacks.
Well, we've tried a couple of different things, and we had some pretty good pass rush in the Mercer game. You got to be very careful because what we did try to do in the Mercer game was pressure the quarterback, try to get it out of his hands. So when you got a young secondary, you want to try to get as much pass rush as you possibly can. So if you're not getting it with your front 4 or 5 guys, then you got to bring 5 and 6 guys. Then you got to try to bring 7 guys, and the next thing you know is the quick game starts to come into effect. So you got to be very cautious when you're talking about the pass game and how much pressure that you can get on the quarterback. So you try to pressure somebody like Flacco 2 weeks ago, and even though we did have somebody that was still sitting there as spying on him, if you pressure him and you force him to the wrong side of the pocket and he gets out of that pocket, it's hard to have a contained rush as well as bring pressure. Otherwise, you're going to let him sit back in the pocket and throw the ball and pick you apart. So there's different things that you got to do to different teams to try to force him out of the pocket a little bit, or to try to keep him in the pocket a little bit more. So I thought we did a great job in the Mercer game. Moving into the Towson game, obviously, when you let the quarterback rush for so many yards, and a lot of those were scrambles, that did not work out so well for us. The pressure game was not working out so well for us. But we were also fearful that if he could sit back there, he can put the ball on the money. What you're looking at right there is a good football player. Yeah. He didn't do it just to us; he did it to Villanova as well. He obviously did it to Stony Brook as well. They scored a lot of points. He's doing a great job. He is a Walter Payton candidate as far as I'm concerned. One of the best players that I've seen in this league or in any of the leagues that we've played against at the FCS level. So what we've got to do is just continue to keep on forcing it out of the quarterback's hands a little bit quicker, but pick and choose our moments as well.
And we'll get further into Tom Flacco because he did have an excellent game 2 weeks ago when we break down that game against Towson. One other one that came in, and we already kind of touched on this, but someone asking, what lesson did you want your players to pick up or learn the most of during this bye week?
Well, the first thing that we addressed was the Towson game, and versus a very good football team. That's a top 25 team. They should probably be a top 15 or top 20 team very soon if they are not already. But really, you've got to be able to take advantage of the 4 or 5 plays that you need to make, whether it was getting the the opportunity, or whether it was being able to stop them on third down. They had a couple third and longs that they converted out there. We didn't make them punt and get off the field enough. But also on the offensive side is we missed 2 wide open wide receivers. Mm-hmm. Those are opportunities that we've got. I mean, that's a difference maker in the ball game right there. When I sat down, because I did have a little bit more time, I figured we left about 16 to 18 points where we traded 3 points on a field goal for the 4 points that we, for the extra 4 that we would have scored on a touchdown and an extra point. We also missed another open receiver on the first drive. That creates a 7-7 game instead of a 7-3 game. Mm-hmm. Those things, and then the 4th down conversion that we probably should have had was the one that we overran our arc block. The guy undercut the ball and made the play in the backfield for a negative yardage play. That hurts us. Against a good football team, you got to stay on the field. You got to take chances, and when you do take chances, you got to make them pay off. If you rewind all the way back to the Mercer game, is we had the big bomb, right? We had the 60-70 yard pass right there. We had the pass to Kurt Nixon to be able to kind of seal the game away. Those are the plays that we made that day. We didn't make those plays in this pass game, and that was my point to the guys is, hey, there's 6 or 7 plays. You don't know where they're going to come. You got to make sure that you're on point for all plays in order to get points on the board against a very good football.
Not the result you were looking for with the loss out in the football field, but the overall experience for that trip with the long ride up there, getting out of this territory. What was your experience like for just that overall trip heading to Towson for the first time?
It was a little bit different for us. It was a little bit different for the whole team. It wasn't exciting and enjoyable, no. I mean, it's a 9-hour trip. No matter how you cut it, it's a 2-day trip.
Enter in there from Rutgers. I asked you about it prior to that. From Rutgers and ran for a career-high amount of yards, had about 450 yards himself, 4 touchdowns. Coach Cal McCombs had scouted his brother Joe when Joe was in college, and then, of course, Coach was there for that game with us on the radio, and he thought from the performance that he saw at this point in their careers in college that actually Tom was more impressive than Joe was. So,
more of a dynamic player.
Yeah.
You know, he can extend plays with his feet. He can. The most impressive thing that I saw, and I knew we were going to be in for a long game, is when he took off from the 5-yard line and scored. And then in the meantime, he jumped over 2 of our players. As he's just a tremendous athlete there. Now, we got to get him on the ground before that, but he's a great competitor, and I thought he was a great player.
Heading into that game, he certainly did a lot more running that day, it seemed, than he did prior. What led to him getting out of the pocket in the downfield?
I thought it was more of what we're talking about, the pass rush. When you try to force people, when you blitz, you got to blitz gaps. You got to move fronts, and when you do that, you force the quarterback one way or the other. And even though you know kind of where you're forcing them to, you just get them in space, and that's very challenging.
In that game, 44-27, I imagine that's not the type of game you're looking for as the Bulldogs, not just the outcome, but that shootout type of style where you keep going back and forth with scores.
You know, look, we traded in the third quarter, we traded touchdowns there, and at that point, I know we would score very quickly, and then we scored again quickly, and they scored quickly, and scored again quickly, and then we had a field goal fest a little bit after that. At that point, I knew, I said, you don't want to shoot out these guys. They were scoring in 2 or 3 plays, and, we're usually a kind of drive it down the field kind of a team. We were able to lean on them a little bit. We had 80-something snaps on offense. We were able to pop the ball a couple of times and, hit them on a couple trap plays. But really, to be honest with you, is we didn't want to get into that game at all. The way the game started out was about perfect for us. Big, long drives. Right. What ended up happening was we just, whether we had gotten set back by negative yards play or penalty, the one penalty that hurt us as well.
And it seemed like it was those things that got you guys behind the chains, if you will, to use a cliche, because you fell behind 21-3 and then you outscored them the rest of the way. But it was some of those missed opportunities you mentioned that kind of put you in a hole.
Yeah, you got to be able to play with those guys early. You got to be able to stay in the ball game with them. If you stay in the ball game with them, I think you create a little bit different atmosphere on their end. They're like, maybe they're thinking that, hey, these guys are they're sticking around, they're hanging around. We needed to hang around with those guys. And when you get them up, when they get up 21-3, we've got to do everything that we can. We were able to come back and score pretty quickly just before the half. But unfortunately, that's one of those situations where we travel down, we score fairly quickly. We have a couple of good pass plays down there. Maybe we make it 21-10 at the time, and then they come back and they kick the field goal. So we traded the 4 points out, which is unfortunate for us. In hindsight, I probably should have chewed a little bit more clock on it, but I was just anxious to score. I want to make sure we got points on the board.
Right. I've asked you every week, so I'll ask you again about the passing game. In that game against Thompson, 3 for 16, 63 yards, interception. Of course, you were behind, so you had to throw it more in the second half. But what did you think of the passing attack on that Saturday?
It was not good. We did not, and that's where we spend most of our time this past week, is throwing the football and converting in those. And 2 of those were really open receivers that we really missed, or just missed opportunities on open receivers, and that hurts us. The one interception, that was a little bit more of a pressure situation. He had to step up into the pocket. We had an open receiver, threw it behind him due to some pressure. But other than that, routes that we were hitting early on in the game we didn't hit. We were just a little bit off, and I think we pressed a little bit too much. Whenever we have to throw it 16 times, it's going to be a little bit stressful for us.
And on the ground, it was Lorenzo Ward again, 180 yards on 35 carries. Got a brunt of the work in the ground game for you guys. Another excellent day for him. I mean, 180 yards. He's been off to an excellent season so far.
Yeah, they gave us the fullback. We had the fullback quarterback game plan ready to go. It was one of those days where it had to be a fullback game, and he stepped up into it, hit a couple big ones for us, and then we nickel and dimed him down the field a few times.
You mentioned that big one. I think he had a 38-yard touchdown run where it looks like he just blew past everybody. Is his speed for a big fullback kind of deceiving? Does he surprise some people with his quickness?
He's always surprised me. He's got a little bit different game speed. He also knows where to go. He knows how to split safeties. He knows how to get vertical quickly. And I think at that point we had just leaned on him quite a bit, and we had him confused with a couple things that we were doing. They were well schooled up. They knew what they were doing, but we had formationed him a little bit. We had showed him a couple new plays that we had that maybe they weren't prepared for.
I'm still trying to figure out this offense completely, so forgive me if I ask maybe a couple of dumb questions here, but he leads the conference in rushing yards per game. Is that normal from a fullback in this offense, or is what he's doing, more special than what we've seen in the past?
No, you should be at that position. That is our featured position. That is the one that you really want to play. Tyler Renew was that guy a couple of years ago, and it needs to be our most physical, our most savvy, our most game-ready running back.
And for those like me, again, who may not be completely familiar, when you hear triple option, you think a lot of that fake dive, get on the outside with the opportunity to pitch. We haven't seen a ton of those type of plays. Is that something that is typically fairly common in this offense? Is that something you want more involved, or are those just once in a while type of plays?
To be honest with you, is you got to take what the defense gives you. So there are days where, believe it or not, even in that game, I believe we called the triple option somewhere 8 to 10 times. We only got it distributed to the perimeter once, and that was what I was talking about on that fourth down. They knew what they were doing. They weren't going to let the ball out to the perimeter because they know out on the perimeter is where the big plays happen. So we had to nickel and dime them inside until they take that fullback away from you. And once they do, and then you can get it on the perimeter. So the common mistake that you make as a triple option coach is forcing the ball. And you can't force the ball into certain spots all the time. If you're trying to get the ball to the perimeter, you got your ways to get the ball to the perimeter. We got the toss game. We've got certain ways to maybe run some zone option to get the ball to the perimeter and get it quick pitched out there. But on a regular basis, if you're running true triple option and you're running veer the way it's supposed to be run, you got to read it, you got to be patient, you got to take what's given to you, and that's how you end up with Jordan Black certainly hits one for 30, 40 yards, and so does Lorenzo Ward. So you got to take what the defense gives you, and even though it can be frustrating, it can be mind-numbing at times, think of what it is like that for that defense or that defensive coordinator. It's mind-numbing, and maybe they get impatient.
Right. Speaking of that defense, you mentioned that they were prepared. I'll ask you one question on the topic. You can say as much or as little as you would like, but were you surprised with how prepared they were for you with that offense and how ready they were?
I had a pretty good idea that they were going to know exactly what they were doing. I had also known that they had purposely scheduled the bye week. It's a little different offense for them. They've got to, it kind of gives people a little bit of unease when they go against a different offense because most people don't understand the offense. So when you don't understand something, you go and find somebody that does. And they certainly did, and they did a good job, and I think that they put a good game plan together. Like I said, you know what you're doing when you don't let the fullback out, and you're not impatient, you just kind of run it. Now, with that being said, is you still rush for 360 yards, you still had, 40, 50 yards throwing the ball right there, and then you still left some offense out on the field. So, like I said, if we just hit a little bit more and did our job a little bit better, it really wouldn't have mattered.
Talking about that game against Thompson a couple of weeks ago, of course, not only the tough loss on the field, 44-27, but some injuries as well. What's the status now after the bye week for the health of some of these guys?
We've got a few guys that are still doubtful. We've got a couple of guys that are on the fence right now. We've worked some guys back into practice over this past couple of days, which has been nice. The bye week has certainly helped us out.
A long week or a long trip like that up to Thompson and coming back, even despite the result on the field, could something like that be a bit of a bonding trip for those guys? Spend so much time with one another on the road.
Well, most of our trips are. It's a great opportunity, and we talked about that when we went to the Mercer trip. Those are the events that you remember as a team. Is when you go out and you get just a select group of guys. Because when you're at home, you got 80 or 90 guys, but when you're on the road, you only carry about 60 guys or so and travel those guys. So there is a little bit more of a bonding that goes on. They room together a little bit more. There's a lot more interaction. Certainly, you don't get away from each other for 3 or 4 straight days.
Yeah, well, enough about the past. We'll look ahead to a big game Saturday as the Bulldogs finally return home. Have a home game Saturday against ETSU. We'll break down that matchup and a lot more when we come back. Next, it's the Coaches Show here from the Marina Variety Store Restaurant on ESPN Radio, 94.7 FM and 910 AM.
We had long deployments in Iraq. Really grateful that USA was able to take care of my family while I was overseas serving.
It was my very first car accident. We were hit from behind. I called USAA, and the first thing they asked was, "Are you okay?" They always thank you for your service, which is nice because as a spouse, you serve too.
We're the Hells, and we're USAA members for life.
See how much you could save with USAA by bundling your auto and home insurance. Get a quote today.
Pizza with Pepsi. Delicious.
Sorry, Dad.
Sure, you could get him a new car. You could also light a pile of money on fire. Because as long as Mr. It wasn't my fault takes the wheel on occasion, maintaining this car is your best option. So keep it running longer, stronger, with quality parts and a whole lot of Napa know-how.
Dad, where are you going?
These are the moments that move you. Roper St. Francis Orthopedics is South Carolina's leader when it comes to letting you stay in play. Our top-rated program has over 30 specialists across the Lowcountry who are ready to treat all of your moving parts. Call 727-DOCS to keep on moving.
This is the Pepsi for serious fans and serious eats. This is the Pepsi for Sundays at the ballpark and days off at your favorite pizza joint. Right, Aaron?
Best slice in New York.
Whatever you're craving, this is the Pepsi for you.
Pizza with Pepsi. Delicious.
Buying a home is a big financial decision, so you need a strong team working on your mortgage. That team is at South Atlantic Bank. Decisions are made right here in our community by mortgage professionals who really know the Lowcountry. South Atlantic Bank offers competitive rates and terms on loans for home purchase or refinance. If you need a mortgage loan, you need the mortgage loan professionals at South Atlantic Bank. South Atlantic Bank Mortgage Group, providing the keys to home ownership.
Now, try new Barbasol razors.
This is the Pepsi for serious fans and serious eats. This is the Pepsi for Sundays at the ballpark and days off at your favorite pizza joint. Right, Aaron?
Best slice in New York.
Whatever you're craving, this is the Pepsi for you.
What does first alert weather mean? It means you're connected.
To the here, to the now.
To big changes before they happen.
From the everyday to the severe, you need a team that gives you the earliest alert.
When we know, you'll know.
Anywhere you are. Led by the most experienced meteorologist in the Lowcountry, Live 5 is your weather leader.
Not because we want to be first, because your safety comes first.
First Alert Weather, only from Live 5 News.
Pizza with Pepsi. Delicious.
About 15 seconds.
Alrighty.
It's the Coach's Show with the head coach Brent Thompson of the Citadel Bulldogs here from the Marina Variety Store and Restaurant in downtown Charleston, located at 17 Lockwood Drive. As we now turn our attention to the upcoming game for the Bulldogs, they return home finally and take on a good ETSU team Saturday at Johnson Haygood Stadium. ETSU off to a 5-1 start. They're 3-0 in the conference. They're tied for first in this conference, but Coach, at the beginning of the year, they were picked towards the bottom of the conference, so I know they've surprised a lot of people schedule. Are you surprised at all by the start of their season so far this year?
You know, when you look at their roster and you look at their depth chart, you understand why they are doing so well. Is they have 7 on the offensive side and about 8 on the defensive side that are 3rd and 4th year players and some 5th year players as well. So that certainly bodes well for them. They do a good job there. I think Coach Torbush, the previous coach, did a great job of recruiting and developing his players. They've got some really good, talented players on both sides of the ball. They do a good job. I think they're well coached. And then with Coach Shannon there, I think it's he brings a wealth of knowledge and experience on the offensive side.
4th year back for this football program after they suspended action for about 15 years. Is that experience, is that the biggest difference for them this year compared to years past, or something else they got going on?
No, I do. I think so. The quarterback's a 3-year starter for him. He's done a great job. He really manages the ball game. He wasn't the starter at the beginning of the year, but ever since he came back in as the starter a couple of weeks ago, I think they've really blossomed and they've really caught fire behind him, and they're playing with a lot of confidence right now. They're only giving up 73 or 77 yards on defense on the ground, so that's going to be difficult.
I know you'll never complain about it, and there's nothing that you can even do about it, but you just look at the schedule to start the year with the matchup against Wofford, who I think is now 6th in the country, Chattanooga, Towson, and now even ETSU, all top 25 teams, and this is just through your first 5 games of the season, so it's been quite a buzzsaw schedule-wise here to start the season.
It's the same thing as when you scheduled Towson a couple of years ago. They were down, right? You didn't even really know. You look at certain games, I mean, a couple of years ago, Wofford was down. About 4 years ago, they were down. They're hitting their stride again. A couple of years ago, when we were up, next thing you know, who's going to be down? Furman was really a good team last year. They're down a little bit this year. It's just a matter of really just certain key positions. When you lose certain key positions and you're going to be young in certain spots, like last year was the offensive line for us. This year it's more the defense and the secondary for us. So we've got to continue to regroup, rebuild, and continue to get steam, and we'll be all right.
With that said, I mean, that Wofford game, as we've discussed, a couple of plays that goes a different direction. Same at Chattanooga. You get a good win on the road against Mercer. You hang tough with a very good Towson program. Are those moral victories too? Do you take pride that, hey, a couple of plays go differently, and maybe we're a team in the top 25 if we pulled out some of these wins?
Well, really what it should have been is we should have had a win. We should have had at least won one of those games, and we really probably needed to win the Chattanooga game, and that's the way we look at it. Is you got to come out with 2 of those close games. You got to win at least one of them. Is in this league where wins are tough to come by, you've got to be able to win the close games, and unfortunately we lost both close games, but hopefully we've learned a lot from them, and we need to move forward from those. And even myself, I got to stop thinking about that. Especially the Chattanooga one, it was you battled all the way back, you battled in overtime, and you start to roll in overtime a little bit, and then there's the 2-point conversion got us.
Yeah, let's look ahead to this ETSU game Saturday. For me personally, looking at the numbers, at least on the offensive side of the football, things don't really jump off the page to me that impress me what they've been doing offensively. So I'll ask you, what have they been doing offensively to be able to get off to this 5-1 start?
They're very balanced. They do a good job offensively of running the football, finding leverage points, and finding angles. I think the offensive line is well coached. They're well experienced. They've got a few good running backs. You won't see one of those running backs that's just absolutely heads and tails above everybody else in the league, but together they do a great job. The quarterback, I said, he manages the game well, makes the throws that he has to make. Other than that, just manages and runs the offense extremely well. On the defensive side, it's an experienced bunch that they've been running that 50 defense for the last 4 years. They know exactly what to do. There's some really good ham and egg players in there that do a great job of being able to know what their responsibilities and what their assignments are.
Well, offensively, they have turned it over quite a bunch for a 5-1 team. Is there a certain objective when trying to defend this team, whether that's taking away the run, taking away the pass? Is there one way that you would like to attack them?
I do think we need to take away the run. Yes, after watching them, especially last week, they're playing with a lot of confidence against Gardner-Webb. They were able to move the ball almost at will against Gardner-Webb, and if you can do that, you're going to play right into their hands. I think they want to be a run team. With the way their offensive line plays, I think they want to be a run-oriented team.
You've had some matchups with some tough offenses so far this year. Chattanooga, a team that like to throw it around, obviously just now Towson, even Mercer. But this is a team that I don't think they've had a game exceed 27 points. They seem to be a very defensive team. Well, their last one against Gardner-Webb did, but they seem to be a very defensive-based team. Does this matchup suit you guys a little bit better?
I don't know. I'll probably be able to tell you a little bit more, gauging them. I watched them against VMI when the game was going on. You see a much different team in that VMI game than what you saw against the Gardner-Webb team. The Gardner-Webb game was probably their best overall game. They came out and ran the football. They came out and stopped Gardner-Webb pretty good in their tracks. They blitzed them. They were moving very, very quickly. As when you flip on that film, you're like, whoa, this team's playing with a bunch of confidence. They feel good about what they're doing, and they got after Gardner-Webb pretty good.
When you look at the numbers defensively, they look like a really tough team to try to run the football against. They average 70 yards per game allowed, 2.1 yards per carry to the opposition, but have allowed 10 rushing touchdowns in just 6 games. When you flip on the film and watch them, what are some obstacles you see in their defense and trying to run against that defense?
Very good nose guard. I think the nose guard, everything starts with the nose guard right there. He does a great job. They've got big, tall defensive ends, 6'2", 6'4", somewhere in that range, 260, 270, some big, long, rangy guys. Linebackers, they've got one linebacker that's Dylan Weigel, who's a great, he's been playing against us for years, but what I would classify as a great ham and egg player. Always going to be in the right spot, makes sure tackled kind of guy. Very, very tough player, not afraid to hit it up and in there and blitz the gaps and do those kind of things. So those are the guys that you really got to be concerned about on defense.
Coach McCombs always tells me that, with this triple option offense, it's all about staying ahead of the chains, getting 3 yards per play. Looking at some more numbers on the defensive side of things for ETSU, they've had 60 tackles in the backfield in just 6 games, 25 sacks. They've even forced 7 fumbles. So, they get after the quarterback. They seem to get into the backfield. I imagine, of course, like any week, but maybe especially this week, that moving forward will be important at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, negative yardage plays are the certain ones that always catch us off guard, and those are the toughest ones to battle back from, of course, throughout the drives. But, we need to obviously concentrate on going forward and moving forward, which is certainly the goal of any offense. But really, we've got to make sure that we're on top of our game, because they do show some different fronts. They do show some things that just not a traditional 50 team will do. So Jordan's been working, all of his different checks in there and having everything ready to go in the game plan to make sure that we do move forward.
First home game in, I think, 35 days will be this Saturday when you guys finally take the field there on your home turf against ETSU here in a big conference matchup this upcoming Saturday in Charleston. What will it mean to take the field at home for the first time in almost a month and a half?
Well, there's quite a few things going on. As we've got Ring Weekend, we've got Parents Weekend, and it is our first home game in about 35 days. So we know it's going to be special for us just to be able to get back out there in front of our fans again. I always mention this, as there's something to be said for, staying home, staying in your own bed. Staff gets to stay in their own bed, and we get to be able to have more time to prepare. When you figure that when we had to take the road Thursday to go to Towson, is traditionally our call sheets aren't really done for the Thursday game. I did those all the way on the bus, all the way up to Maryland that day. Our Friday script wasn't done. That's something that when you leave early morning Thursday, or you got to leave in the afternoon on Thursday, you don't have a whole lot of prep time. You got to do all that stuff on the road, and it just takes a little bit out of you. So having a little bit more prep time is certainly going to help us out.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you bring up, and of course, again, you'll never make excuses, but how challenging has it been to start the season or go through the stretch where you don't play a home game for 5 weeks?
Traditionally, we don't usually mind our travel games. The travel schedule is usually not too bad. We do a good job. We kind of get there. We get our feet underneath us. With the Towson game, we were there a good 24 hours ahead of time, so that's usually the threshold that we like to stay right around the 24, 22 hours ahead of time is usually where we want to be. But yeah, when you're away this amount of extended time, it gets a little bit more frustrating.
You mentioned Parents Weekend and everything else going on this weekend. What does that add to the game or to the players and just the excitement that, not only returning home for the first time in 5 weeks, but it's also a pretty busy and important weekend there on the campus?
Believe it or not, is the most excitement is probably leading up to it for us is everybody wants to dress this weekend, right? You got Parents Weekend out there, so our scout look gets that much better. Our excitement in practice is when the scout look gets that much better is the offense and the defense. They've got to raise their expectations. They've got to raise their level of play. So believe it or not, is everything leading up to that is the most important thing that we do. Once we get to Friday, we try to put all the noise and block everything out, which is ring day. Unfortunately, you can't block it all out because you do have your seniors that are getting their rings, which is certainly exciting for them, and they do participate. They do enjoy that. But for the rest of the guys, we kind of take them off campus, get them in their hotel, and we try to sequester them as best we can and try to block block out all the noise.
Can you tell which players' parents are in attendance just by the way they're practicing or playing on that day?
You can pretty much guarantee who's out there and who's not, and who's ready to go.
Well, the Bulldogs getting ready for a matchup this Saturday against ETSU. Saturday afternoon game, I think our first afternoon game of the year. Does that change anything where you don't wait around till the night, or you maybe don't have as much time on that Saturday to get ready for a kickoff? Does the time of the kickoff have any sort of effect?
I always enjoy the earlier kick times. Sitting around and waiting is always, it can be distracting at times. Once again, you're sitting around, pacing around your room, pacing around your house, whatever it is, watching other games, kind of figuring out what you can do, sit in my office sometimes and just thinking about all the different scenarios. You want to just get out there and play it.
What are some keys to coming out with a big win against ETSU here at home on Saturday?
Once again, it's always going to be ball control and possession for us. Continue to get first downs, but we've got to, and we say it every single week, but we've got to get a faster start. We've got to play the field position game with these guys. We've got to get them off the field. We've got to be able to score and put points on the board early. Obviously, be fundamental, be sound in the special teams game, which I think we have been. But most importantly is just kind of get them off the field.
Well, one more segment to go here tonight. When we come back, we will give a rundown or assessment of what Coach thinks of his 3 different units so far this point in the season, coming off the bye week, and get ready further for the matchup on Saturday. Still time to send in your questions, if you wish, online by using the hashtag AskCoachThompson. Otherwise, we'll wrap things up and continue to preview the big game Saturday with ETSU when we come back. It's the Coach's Show here from the Marina Variety Restaurant in downtown Charleston on ESPN Radio 94.7 FM and 910 AM.
The great thing about an old truck is you can treat it like an old truck, which is exactly why you got a truck in the first place. It's not old, it's broken in. So keep it running longer, stronger, with quality parts and a whole lot of Napa know-how. That's not gonna buff out.
TD Bank's new intern, Bart, is one of those robots from another bank. We're training him to bank human. Bart, why are you winding the clock back?
The clock stated 11:35 p.m., but they are still working.
The clock is fine. Our live customer service is available all night, and all day for that matter. He's learning.
At TD Bank, we do things differently.
Hello?
Like live customer service.
Hello?
24/7. Don't just bank. Bank human.
Pizza with Pepsi. Delicious.
Style. Selection. Service. Quality. Value. See what everyone is talking about. Ashley Furniture Home Store.
This is the Pepsi for serious fans and serious eats. This is the Pepsi for Sundays at the ballpark and days off at your favorite pizza joint. Right, Aaron?
Best slice in New York.
Whatever you're craving, this is the Pepsi for you.
Buying a home is a big financial decision, so you need a strong team working on your mortgage. That team is at South Atlantic Bank. Decisions are made right here in our community by mortgage professionals who really know the Low Country. South Atlantic Bank offers competitive rates and terms on loans for home purchase or refinance. If you need a mortgage loan, you need the mortgage loan professionals at South Atlantic Bank. South Atlantic Bank Mortgage Group, providing the keys to home ownership.
We're married, and as professional golfers, we're very competitive.
But only on the golf course. 72 seconds. How long can you hold your breath?
No competing at home. Booyah!
That's our rule.
Pure Silk and Barbasol. Proud supporters of professional golf and friendly competition everywhere.
Loser takes out the trash.
Try new Pure Silk and Barbasol razors. Available now nationwide.
Pizza with Pepsi. Delicious.
Style. Selection. Service. Quality. Value. See what everyone is talking about. Ashley Furniture Home Store.
TD Bank's new intern, Bart, is one of those robots from another bank. We're training him to bank human.
Bart, why are you winding the clock back?
The clock stated 11:35 p.m., but they are still working.
The clock is fine. Our live customer service is available all night, and all day for that matter.
He's learning.
At TD Bank, we do things differently.
Hello?
Like live customer service.
Hello.
24/7. Don't just bank human.
Show with the head coach Brent Thompson of the Citadel Bulldogs here live from the Marina Variety Store and Restaurant at 17 Lockwood Drive in downtown Charleston. Here every Wednesday during the football season from 7 to 8. You can come join us in person. We're joined by some of our closest friends here tonight, getting ready for the game Saturday with ETSU as the Bulldogs return home for the first time in 5 weeks, coming off a bye week. So it's been a while since we've had Citadel football, and the Bulldogs will be looking for their second win of the year against ETSU, who enters at 5-1 overall, 3-0 in the conference. An important game this Saturday, so make sure you come out and join us in person here in Charleston over at Johnson Haygood Stadium. Make sure you're plenty loud for the Bulldogs, especially when they're on defense. Coach, coming off the bye week, so it's not the midway point of the season, but figured as good as any time to kind of assess how the team has performed so far this season in all three areas. So just ask you a couple of broad questions, see what you've thought about your unit so far this year, and I guess we'll start on the offensive side. Just overall, your impression of the offense here the first couple of weeks through the year.
Well, I certainly think we're a lot better than we were last year. I think we've progressed, quite a bit. I think we've got a good, solid starting offensive line right now. I'm very happy with the way the B-backs are playing. Even Clay Harris, even our youngest B-back, he's making some great strides every day. He's going to be a terrific player for us. We've got a couple of solid A-backs and a couple of solid wide receivers for us. We've made some big plays on there. Now, are we where we want to be? Certainly not. I think we could be a lot better than we are right now. Right now, we're probably a good, solid C+, B- in that range. But I think we're making progress. We're going in the right direction. What we are doing is we are moving the football. We're scoring points. We're able to convert. We're not quite where we need to be as far as staying on track and maybe not getting the penalties in the red zone. We certainly had a couple of those that put us out of range a little bit. That hurt. But other than that, I think we've done fairly well.
All right, let's flip to the other side of the football. Defensively, I know it's a young unit, a lot of new first-time starters this year that I'm sure are getting better each and every week. How would you grade out your defense so far at this point in the year?
Right now we're probably playing about as good as we can, and unfortunately that's as good as you can is probably in that C- D+ range right now. There's not a whole lot that we can do other than just keep practicing and getting better. I was asked in the press conference yesterday, is there anything that needs to be changed, or are you going to double down on what you do? And I think coaches get themselves into a big mess when they start to change, especially start to change midway through. Even though they just don't have the personnel right now, or they're just missing a key aspect here and there. You could have asked us that last year when we were on the offensive side, is do you really want to be a triple option offense if you don't have the offensive linemen to be able to do it? Well, you got to develop, and there's no way around it at our place. Unlike at Towson, where they wiped out their whole secondary and created a whole new secondary in a matter of one single year, and they had no quarterback and an inexperienced quarterback. They're bringing a quarterback that can play. It's just a little bit different when you have different dynamics at your school. So we're going to continue to do what we do. We're going to continue to get better at it, and we're going to continue to do in what we believe in. If you don't believe in anything, you're going to struggle.
What's the one biggest improvement you would like to see from your defense here at this point in the season to the end of the year?
Our pass defense needs to get better, of course. I think we're in position to make plays. We just need to make some plays on that side. We have forced a couple of turnovers. We certainly had two interceptions in the Wofford game, and we had one key one in the Chattanooga game. We had a key one last week in the end zone in the Towson game 2 weeks ago. So we're creating some turnovers. We're getting to that point, but you can't always force it, and you can't press it when you've got first and second year players back there. But we're going to continue to get better.
Let's round out your assessments with the final portion of the team and the game, if you will. Special teams led by the freshman punter, Matt Campbell. Of course, the first kick return touchdown in 16 years for the program. What have you thought of your special teams so far this year?
I would say we're probably in the B-plus range. I think we're doing a great job, to be honest with you. If we convert a couple more field goals, I think that would kind of improve. But other than that, I think we did a great job. When you can score points, you can block the kick and have an opportunity to score points, and get the ball on the other side of the 50-yard line for your team is tremendous. So I think that's probably been the highlight. We've been able to flip the field. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to capitalize on the field position game. But with Matt Campbell being able to flip the field, I think he's done a great job with that. The kick return for a touchdown's a highlight, and then the block kick's a highlight. Those are things that we haven't really done in the years past. But when you may not be good on one side of the ball or other, you've got to take some other risks and some chances. And even the fake field goal that comes to mind, as we had that opportunity, we just unfortunately turned the ball over there.
Bulldogs getting back into conference play Saturday with ETSU 5-1 on the year, 3-0 in the conference, or the Buccaneers. You know, the conference so far this year, outside of Wofford, they were projected to be up towards the tops of the conference. They have been, but otherwise, conference has kind of been flipped upside down, where you have ETSU up there, even Mercer, Chattanooga, and of course you guys have played all those teams to start the season. But have you been surprised at all with how things have played out in the conference through the first 5-6 weeks here? I
think the two teams that surprised you, of course, is going to surprise anybody, is the Sanford and the Furman. Mm-hmm. And after watching Furman just this past week against ETSU, I have a better understanding of what they're going through. Is they really miss some key players on the offensive side of the ball, especially the quarterback, Blazejowski, who played there for 4 years, had done a great job for them. The center, who was the Jacobs Blocking Trophy winner, the fullback, who ended up having a great senior year for them. They miss a lot of those guys, and I can understand that from where we were last year. And then Sanford, I haven't seen a whole lot. I don't watch a whole lot of Sanford film because it puts me to sleep. But to be honest with you, that's a little bit of a surprise. I don't know if it's the defense or if it's on offense there, to be honest with you.
Bulldogs getting ready to take on ETSU Saturday. In preparation for the show last week, which of course never did end up happening, but with the bye week, I put together all these questions I was going to ask you that wasn't about the team, but was more about you. Okay. And so we, of course, didn't get to those. We have about 3 minutes left in the show. Let me try to sneak in a couple of these. What's your most memorable moment on a football field, whether that was your playing career, now your coaching career, or anything else?
Probably the single thing that sticks out in my mind the most is it really happened here in 2016, and what clinched the playoff win for us is because it was just the whole atmosphere around it. It was when the Sanford kicker put it up off of our uprights in overtime. Such an emotional up and down game. We had been back, we had been down, and really what probably sticks out to me more than that was a little bit earlier on in the game, I had gone for it on fourth down in our own territory, on our own side of the 50-yard line, and we didn't get it, but our defense came back and battled back and got us the ball back right there, and then we go on to win that football game. There's 2 or 3 good plays in there, but really, if you think about everything Citadel football is all about, and the Citadel is all about, it was going into the Corps Cadets. The Corps Cadets were loud as possible. They get a procedure penalty within that 2 or 3 plays of the overtime. That set them back beyond the 25-yard line, forced a much longer kick and a much more difficult kick, and forced it off the upright, and that, of course, won the conference for us. So that probably was my most memorable time.
Well, let me try to sneak one more in here before we have to get off the air. You're just coming off the bye week where at times maybe you were trying to find things to fill the time. So if you couldn't be a football coach, what profession would you be in?
That's a great question. Because I was forced with that question at one time. I'd gotten fired at Bucknell. Certainly not a good enough golfer. I don't know if I have the patience enough to be a teacher like my dad was. Which was, I have to do something with my hands, and I'm not very good with those either. I feel like I've got to be. I don't know what I would do, to be honest with you. I'm not good behind the desk. I get very edgy and irritated. I think what I do best, to be honest with you, is clean my house. Maybe I would be a house cleaner. To be honest, I can go in my own world and just kind of live in that area. I think that's the next best thing that I do.
Well, then I guess you did find the right career path for you as the coach of now the Bulldogs here as they get ready for for a game against ETSU on Saturday. It'll be a 2 o'clock kick Saturday at Johnson Haygood Stadium, so coverage will begin at noon on Saturday, but make sure you can come out and join us in person. Bring the radio with you, and if you can't be there, if you're out of town, coverage will begin at noon with the pregame show locally here in Charleston on 102.1 FM, 92.1 FM, 1450 AM as well. Coach, we appreciate the time tonight as always, and we wish you the best of luck Saturday.
Thanks, Luke. See you out there.
That's head coach Brent Thompson getting ready for a big Bulldog game Saturday. They return home for the first time in 35 days to take on ETSU. We hope to see you there. If not, again, coverage will begin at noon, getting ready for kickoff at 2 o'clock. We'll also have the next Coach's Show a week from tonight, next Wednesday, 7 o'clock here from the Marina Variety Store Restaurant. Hope you can join us in person, and hope that we'll see you Saturday at Johnson Haygood Stadium. Go Bulldogs! Yeah.